यंकरवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। Okay, let's see. Okay, can we start in reciting verse number 29 on page 32, which is what we're going to take today anyway, and do 5 verses. Apane juhvati pranam, apane juhvati pranam, prane panam tatha pare, pranam tatha pare, prana panagati ruddhva, prana panagati ruddhva, pranayam aparayana, aparayana, apare niyata haraha, apare niyata haraha, pranan praneshu juhvati, praneshu juhvati, sarve pyete yajna vidaha, yajñakshapita kalmashaha, kalmashaha, yajñashishtamrita bhujaha. Excuse me. Yanti brahma sanatanam, nayam lokotyasta yajñasya, nayam lokotyasya yajñasya, kutonyah kuru sattama, kutonyah kuru sattama, evam bahuvidha yajñaha, vitata brahmano mukhe, karmajan viddhitan sarvan, evam jnatva vimokshase, shreyan dravyamayadyagyat, shreyan dravyamayay, excuse me, sorry, shreyan dravyamayadyagyat, shreyan dravyamayadyagyat, ज्ञान यज्ञ परंतप, ज्ञान यज्ञ पर सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ, ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते। Okay, so So here the section of Bhagavad Gita is going through having discussed the jnanam, self-knowledge, which is the ultimate goal of all human beings. Having discussed that on page number 24. So you remember, not page, the verse number 24. Brahma karma samadhina. So that is the ultimate. So nitya muktaha, one who has become free while living. Brahma karma samadhina. While discussing this jnanam, now what is being discussed is forms of things that you can do in your life to improve your understanding of this jnanam. Because this jnanam is not understood. Even though it is there, but one doesn't get it fully. So as you know that we have, and I'm just reminded of that from time to time, that there's really are three stages to this. One is ajnanam, one is paroksha jnanam, and the third one is aparoksha jnanam. So ajnana means that I don't know exactly what is going on. I have no idea about Atma, Anatma, Ishvara, all these kinds of things. These are just words that I'm not familiar with. I lead a certain life, I have a certain way of conducting myself, and I try to be a good person. That's all I know. But all these high-flying things and so on and so forth are just unknown to me. This is where we all start. Then slowly we get to know there is something interesting things going on. If you look at the autobiography of Swami Chinmayanand, he exactly had the same thing. Swami Chinmayanand was a correspondent for some newspaper. And so he started to interview these swamis as to what their lifestyle is and how they describe life, and just as a kind of like an academic interest on his part. He was just a correspondent for a newspaper, and he was asked to probably visit some of the Mahatmas. So he went there with his paper and pencil and saying, tell us about yourself, why do you do this, and so on and so forth. So very academic. But then, as he met various Mahatmas, he started to feel there is something real going on in here. And he finally ended up leaving his job and actually studying with the Mahatmas. And of course, finally, his teacher Tapovan Maharaj became his guru. And he studied with him for a long time. And, became so good at that, he became, who he finally became. This is true for all of us. In fact, it is said in Vedanta that the real transformation in life comes when, in the words of Sanskritam, a mumukshu becomes a jigyasu. So it's interesting, even the word mumukshu means moktum ichchuhu, one who wants to really solve the problem of life is called mumukshu. One who wants freedom is called mumukshu. So you find that in general, people are not looking for becoming a mumukshu. They just want to solve the everyday problems of life or day as it occurs, and do a good job of doing it so that I can manage my life, I keep my health, etc., etc. And so even the normal person is not a mumukshu. But supposing you say that it is possible, in fact, to solve life's problems by really, there is a goal, it's possible. So there you cross over from ajnanam to paroksha jnana. So paroksha jnana means something is happening. It's exactly what Chinmayananji also found out, that from the beginning it was just a normal interview with the Mahatma. And then it became an understanding that yes, there is something. And the same thing happened to me. So I also just started to, the only good thing that happened to me in my life is that, of course, I had very good, my grandfather was a Vedanta teacher, but a very unsuccessful person in getting me involved with it. He tried his best, but I wouldn't have anything to do with it. This is all hokey pokey stuff, all so on and so forth. So at least my samskaras were good. But one good thing that happened with me was that I always had a reverence for Bhagavad Gita. Somehow I thought this is something I have to, and I read several copies of that Radhakrishnan's guide. Nothing happened to me. That you are free, this, that, or the other. I said, I don't know what they're talking about. And so nothing really happened. But when I met Swami Chinmayananji, and in 1973, and just in 2 or 3 lectures, not just lectures, but really pravachans, which discourses, I could see, my God, this is just amazing stuff. And anyway, so to close off that topic, this is what I haven't finished that thought. Our acharyas say that the real progress in life comes in when you cross over from becoming a mumukshu to a jigyasu. What does that mean? So mumukshu means that I think that there is a possibility of gaining complete freedom in this life. This is a mumukshu. This is what is called a paroksha jnanam. There's a possibility. First you didn't know there was a possibility, now you know there is a possibility. But to convert paroksha jnanam to aparoksha jnanam requires that you convert yourself from a mumukshu to a jigyasu. And what that means is, mumukshu means moktumichu, one who's desirous of gaining freedom. This is called mumukshu. Jigyasuhu means gyatumichuhu, one who wants to know how. This is the process to go from paroksha jnanam to aparoksha jnanam. And why I'm saying that is because in this section of the Bhagavad Gita, the jnanam is first shown at various places, including verse number 24, where Brahma Karma Samadhina, which is a Jivan Mukta's life, where you see nothing but Brahman alone. The whole life is nothing but Ishvara. The presence of Ishvara both outside and inside. Everything. This is Brahma Karma Samadhi. Now, I don't quite get it yet. That's not my experience. But I have complete shraddha that this is possible. So this is what's called paroksha jnanam. Complete shraddha. Absolutely. But I don't yet have the experience. Then to convert the paroksha jnanam to aparoksha jnanam, I have to do some things. In a way, the doing is very secondary. It is not the primary. You should understand this very fully. That in looking for some things that you don't have, karma is primary. Like I've said before, that supposing you were to go from here to San Francisco, then jnanam is secondary, karma is primary. You have to know which direction to go, but to actually get there, you have to choose a transportation. You're going by Caltrain? Is it going by car or bicycle? Some people go biking 50 miles. Whatever. So karma is primary. But to know something that you already have, karma is secondary. Jnanam is primary. I was giving you this example that there was a time when I didn't find, I think I may have told you this, just as an example of this. This is what is called praptasya praptihi, a acquisition or gain of the already gained. Their karma is a completely different thing altogether. And so the example given is, Swami Maheshananji gave this, so I'll give you two examples, one personal and one Swami Maheshananji. Swami Maheshananji says that supposing you were to get a house that you don't own, you need to buy a home. There is a certain amount of knowledge involved on how to go about doing it, but primarily it is karma. You have to get enough money. In these days, enough money is not important. You know what is going on is just remarkable. You have to write an essay. To buy a home, you have to write an essay that appeals to the seller. My wife's niece, she and her husband just bought a place in Palo Alto just last month. And everyone was willing to pay the money. They were asking like $2.3 million, and everyone was willing to give. And I think Rupa and her husband also paid a little bit about that, maybe a little bit more even. But that wasn't the main thing. Right, exactly. But you know what the main thing was? They had to write a essay, letter to them. I have 2 young kids, and we will take very good care of your property. These guys have already sold. They shouldn't have anything to do with it. You know? And they got it. Because she's a professor at the college, and she used to be the guidance counselor at a legal school in San Francisco. So she was very conversant with how to make your application touch the heart of the person. Got it? Got it. Anyway, what I'm saying is that if you don't have a house and you want to buy a house, you have to do a number of things. This is called karma. Suppose, on the other hand, your parents said, listen, this house is yours. Okay, so we have decided to separate the properties to our children, and this one is given to you. So you can now have it. And so now you know you own the house, but there is a little bit of karma is involved. And the karma is to get the renters out. And in India, that's not an easy karma. Not an easy karma. There's a huge karma, so it's not a good example. But if we are here in this country, it's a good example because to get the renters out is relatively easy if you are going to occupy it yourself. If you're not going to occupy it here also, it is very difficult. But if you were to move into your own home, it's not a big problem. You go through a couple of different things and so on. So this is the example given by Swami Maheshananji. So here, what I need to understand is, I already own freedom, but I don't have the experience of freedom. I am the nature of freedom, but I don't have the experience of freedom. And there is a little bit of karma involved. But this karma is not the same karma as finding a house and then paying for it. It is simply removing some of the things from your renters. So the very famous neti neti, naiti naiti, and then also the whole namaha of just giving up things and so on is that kind of a karma. You just have to remove the unwanted things, and the wanted things are already yours. So this is the nature of what we are going to study. Now, the personal example that I was going to give you, let me just tell you about that also. I think this is also a good way to look at it. So one time, I found that my credit card was not in my wallet. This is the situation. It happens all the time, I'm sure, to everyone. That, your credit card is, you gave it to someone and you forgot to take it back. So here's the situation. Suppose I had gone to a number of places and I had given my credit card for something and I didn't get it back. Now the process of looking for the credit card is very different. How is it different? Because one is very worrisome. Oh my gosh, what happened? Where is it? Did I drop it? Who picked it up? They might use it. I don't know which person to call, where to go. I have no idea. But you start that whole process. You can imagine how your life is when you're, this is nothing compared to if you lose your driver's license. That happened to my wife's brother-in-law recently. They were here for a visit, and just before leaving, they couldn't find their driver's license. And now you cannot get on the plane and all kinds of things. Anyway, going back to the credit card for a change. So this is one example where you don't have your credit card. That happened to me about 6 months or so ago. I found that I didn't have the credit card in my wallet. But you know what? I could remember that I bought something from the computer using my credit card last night. So now I know that the credit card has not been lost. It has just been misplaced in the house somewhere. So my life at that point was not tinged with worry, not knowing where to go. It was simply just, I was a little bit careless. I said, where did I put it? No problems. I put it in the pant pockets, and now I had changed, and I had hung and I had to do a little bit of thinking as to which pocket did I have it? Oh, yes, I was wearing that pants. Sure enough, on the second pocket there, the credit card was there. I forgot to put it back into the wallet. So this is what is called praptasya prapti, an acquisition of the already acquired. It is very relaxing. Yes, there is some work involved, but minor. Compared to if I had really lost it, I wouldn't know where to go. It'll be all full of worries for me. So the section, why I'm bringing all this up, that the section that Lord Krishna is talking about in these is called yajna, various yajna that are the work involved in praptasya prapti. Yajna is the work involved which is relaxing, which is not worrisome, and it is, more importantly, it is required to experience the freedom that you know is yours. This is yajna. And so this is what we are studying. So starting with number 25. So altogether, Arjuna is told 12 different yajnas that can be employed in order to fulfill the promise of an experience of freedom. And which of these you employ is up to you. They're all, that's why he says some people, apare, daivam apare yajnam yoginaha paryupasate. He says some people do this, some people do that. It's up to you which one really appeals to you. You can do one or more or combination. But these are, I'm just giving you some examples. And in fact, Swami Paramarthananda pointed out that these 12 are also just a very small section. Small section. So for example, he does not talk about japa yajna. Elsewhere in the Gita and the other places, they talk about japa yajna. So japa yajna means Vedic chanting as a way of purifying your mind. That's not talked about here. So this is also a small sample. There's a huge list of things that you can do. But anyway, he gives 12 yajnas, which are some way to improve your thinking, your mind, in order for you to appreciate the fact that you are already a free person that you don't realize. So this is the overall thing. So there we saw various things. Then I think we ended up with verse number 28, where 5 more yajnas were given. One was dravya yajna. So if you recall, dravya yajna means dhanam, means that your donation, either in terms of money or time or attention or support, either one, could be any one of them. This is called dravya yajna. Then tapo yajna. So this is where you undertake some austerities, not for physical things, but for spiritual growth. On your own, without complaining, happily doing it. So doing some fasting, keeping Ishvara in mind. And no one is forcing you to do that. It's on your own. Like that, we saw all of that. I won't go through this. Then yoga yajna. Then swadhyaya yajna. And so this is the study of, so for example, Parayanam. So Gita Jayanti is coming up, I believe, on the 22nd. And it may be a good idea for us. I hope I can do that. I'm planning to do that. Read the whole Gita from start to finish. It will take about 3.5 hours. It's called Parayanam. So Swadhyaya Yajna. So this is one kind of a thing. Then jnana yajna of different kinds. So this is all employed. Now let's go into a new verse, which is verse number 29. Of another yajna. Let me make sure that I have my notes in front of me when I talk about that. Yeah. So let's, so there we just already pronounced it. So, apane juhvati pranam. Prane apanam tatha apare. Pranapana gati ruddhva pranayama parayana. So this yajna is breath control. So the word pranayama comes from yama, means discipline. Discipline is yama. So the pranayama means the discipline of breathing. Why is that important? Because prana affects a lot of things in your body. So actually, if you look at the 5 koshas that are described, and I think we may have done it also, but in some other classes, it starts with Annamaya kosha, which is the outer body. Outer body means the flesh and the bones, etc. This is directly result of Annam. It's called Annamaya kosha. Then within that is Pranamaya kosha. So Pranamaya kosha means the physiological functions of the body. Blood flow, breathing, elimination system, the whole system that keeps your body functioning is called the Pranamaya kosha. And we'll come back to that in a minute. Then the next one is Manomaya kosha. In Manomaya kosha, your thoughts, just the ability to think, to remember, to postulate, to make a distinction, all of those kinds of things, sukshma, Manomaya kosha. Then the next one to that is Vijnanamaya kosha. So in Vijnanamaya kosha, the most important thing is your identity as a person. I am a karta, I am a bhokta. This is not subject to doubt. I am who I am. I may not be able to think well, or I can think well. That's a separate thing. That's Manomaya. But I am. I am this much. This is called Vijnanamaya kosha. And finally comes Anandamaya kosha, where it is fully experienced in deep sleep, but partially experienced during the day also, when I am just a happy person. I don't think of it myself as a limited person. I'm just thinking of it, I am okay the way I am. It's called Anandamaya kosha. Anyway, so that's the 5 different layers of the personality. In those 5 layers, Pranamaya, this is what we are talking about, pranayama, sits between Annamaya kosha and Manomaya kosha. Remember I gave you this, so Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. So in this spectrum, the Pranamaya is sitting between Annamaya and Manomaya. Therefore, a proper disciplined pranam, breathing, affects both Annamaya as well as Manomaya. So let's just look at the simpler one, which is Annamaya. So Annamaya, so by the way, pranam itself is the name of 5 functions. Prana, apana, udana, samana, and vyana. I won't go into all the details, we'll do that some other time. But in the pranam is not just breathing, it is all the 5 basic physiological functions grouped together under the name of prana. But in this grouping, the most important one is breathing in. That starts the whole process very well. And in fact, lack of breath becomes, in fact, I just experienced this recently when I had the, I was sick for 2 weeks, and I'm very asthmatic from the very beginning when I grew up. And unfortunately, at that time, there weren't any good medicines. I really, as a child, I struggled. Many times I wanted to even not even see my family. It's just such a suffering. And on top of that, not only was I naturally asthmatic, I was allergic to some things. So I'm very allergic to tur dal. And if I take tur dal, I can stop breathing. I have to be very careful. I mean, I can take a little bit here and there, but I can, that's why I cannot have sambar. Sambar has to be made with some other kind of a dal. It has a different flavor altogether. But I discovered very early on, and in fact, a couple of cases, I had to shut the doors, not even to let my mother in. I was struggling so much. I didn't want her to suffer as well. And nearly died a couple of times. Anyway, so that's the allergy part of it. But just recently, in the last 2 weeks or so, I had asthma, and I experienced the same thing. Why? Because my lungs were full of phlegm, and I could not breathe. And not being able to breathe is a huge issue. Your mind doesn't function, your body is not there, and so on. Anyway, that's just, finally it's over with, and I'm completely okay now. So pranam is very important. Very important. So now just look at the effect of pranamaya kosha with annamaya kosha. If you don't have a regulated, disciplined way of breathing in and so on, you affect the rest of the body. This is the annamaya kosha. But even more important is the effect on manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha. So for example, even when I was sick and so on and so forth, I had a lot of things to do. I'm involved in another project, and they're writing a executive summary, and they were asking me to revise some things and so on. I couldn't do it. Your thinking is completely messed up. You cannot think. And in order to do some writing and some planning and so on and so forth, you have to think. So I had to just tell them, I'm sorry for the next 2-3 days. My body suffering is separate, but the fact that I couldn't even think properly, all due to pranamaya kosha. So a disciplined pranamaya kosha is a gateway to improve your thinking and to improve your body. So this whole section is based on pranayama. disciplined thinking. So for example, starts with apane juhvati pranam. Apane juhvati pranam. So just before that, just to give you, so there are 4 different aspects of prana. One is called puraka. So puraka means to fill up your lungs with oxygen. So this is the puraka. Then the other one is rechaka. Rechaka means to empty the lungs from the oxygen. And the third one is called kumbhaka. So kumbhaka is neither going in nor going out, but to retain what you have. And this is of course 2 types, kumbhaka. One is to retain your oxygen once you have done puraka. The other one is to retain a sense of emptiness when you have removed all the oxygen. So there are 2 kinds of kumbhaka. So it's called antara kumbhaka and bahya kumbhaka. So these are the 4 different ways of doing this. And so this is what is being talked about. So Lord Krishna says that some people perfect their thinking, their disciplined thinking through the use of pranayama. And so, for example, apane pranam juhvati. So, pranam means puraka. It means inhalation. And apana means exhalation. So they are very conscious of ending a inhalation in the state of exhalation, and they are very aware of it. So the disciplined breathing becomes an important element in improving the mind. In fact, I think we have gone through this example. If we haven't, I'll introduce it. So my teacher, Swami Dayanandji, he was not a great proponent of pranayama. It was really just because it was not needed in that case. But still, he had recommended a few minor versions of pranayama as a way of what is called I forget, it's some antara shuddhihi, just an improvement of the inside the way. So he used to do this. In fact, let's do this. So if you could, let's just, so he says, do this 10 times before you do meditation. Okay? And the way to do that is, first I'll describe it and then we will do it. You hold your thumb and your index finger on both nostrils, like this. Close, you don't close them, but just hold close to it. Then you breathe in with the right nostril. You breathe in. Then you press the right nostril with your index finger and breathe out through your left nostril. Breathe in through the right nostril, breathe out through the next. Then you reverse it. Now you breathe in through your next left nostril and breathe out through your right nostril. So it is something like this. And he would recommend that you do this in a relatively lengthy manner, not like this, but the space would be like this. Like that. So this is one complete cycle. So he would say, please do this 10 times before you do meditation. Yeah, Anulom Vilom, exactly, right. So let's just do this 3 times just to do that. Let's do that together. So let's start with it. Okay. Just a quick introduction to it. And what you find if you do this well, that your mind becomes more focused in whatever direction you want to go. Because I think one of the things Swami Dayananda used to say that, he says, if you look at the functioning of your mind, it is kind of like a monkey. It exhibits many of the characteristics of a monkey. How? Because what a monkey does, it jumps from one place to another, and sometimes unconnected to each other. You just jump from one tree into the next tree, then you come down, then you do this, and always so on and so forth. So he says, if you examine your mind, you will see it works as an association from one frame to the other, and sometimes jumps over some frames that have no connection with each other. So you're saying, okay, I need to get some gas today. Oh my gosh, the next thing you say is the gas prices have really gone up. Well, I think it is all because of trouble in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia means the Middle East is such a problem. So where have you gone? You've gone from you need some gas to the problems in Saudi Arabia. So this is associated thinking, just jumps and so on and so forth. So through this pranayama, what you do is to arrest this jumping like a monkey. Because what happens is then, and it's not as though it is very unnatural. So what Swami Viditatmananda gave this very beautiful example. He said, in India, you'll find a person saying to his assistant, please get me 10,000 rupees from the bank in 100 rupee notes. And be careful, make sure that you're so on and so forth. So this guy goes to the bank and he says, I want 10,000 rupees. He signs for it. And the 100 rupee notes are given to him. Now he has to count it because, this is personally responsible for it. He says, while this guy is counting, he's totally focused on it. There's no jumping of the mind. 1, 2, 3. And he's aware of the people around him. There's nobody should be snatching things from him or something. But his focus is purely on the counting. Similarly, when you're reading a book or you're watching an interesting program on television, your mind is naturally focused. But if you're not, then it is jumping around from place to the place. So the pranayama is a very good mechanism for you to stop the monkeying around of your mind and to focus it on directions which is unknown to you at this point. But the more you get accustomed to it, the more you see, yes, this is me, I am the Atma. And because your mind immediately says, okay, what's there to do today? I want some food now and all that. He says, no. Focus on the Atma. Those things will come later. No, my mind is going, I know, but just practice pranayama. Learn to focus in one direction. So this is the yajna that Lord Krishna is talking about. He says, apane juhvati pranam, prane apanam tatha apare. So if the focus is breathing in, this is one focus. The other focus is breathing out. Completely breathing out. So one of the, I had a yoga teacher who taught me this, and I do this. So what he said was that be aware of the amount of time that you're breathing in. Hold it for 4 times as much. Like for example, supposing you say, let's say it's 3 seconds. Then for 12 seconds, hold it. And for 12 seconds, exhale it. And repeat the whole thing. So, something like that. That's another method of, so there are experts that tell you exactly what to do that will improve your, both Annamaya Kosha as well as Manomaya Kosha, both of them can be improved. But here in the case of a person who wants to really focus on the Atma, Manomaya Kosha is much more important. So that's what it is. Then, in the second line, he says, Pranapana Gati Ruddhva. So there also, you are aware of the fact that I am neither breathing in nor breathing out. I'm just holding my breath. Not uncomfortably, but just be aware of it. So all of these machinations that people that do pranayama can give you some expert advice in is all meant not for physical reasons, although physically also your mind will be, your body will be helped a lot. I have a friend of mine's father. He is no longer, he passed away several years back, but I remember this so well. So he was a big industrialist from Bombay. So he came in, he said, you know what, I have a habit. At the top of every hour, I close my eyes, don't answer the phone, and do pranayama for 5 minutes. Every hour. 12 o'clock, immediately he says, it's time. Just close my eyes and just, I don't remember what exactly he did. Similarly, what you will find is that whenever you have some worry or you're tense, your breathing stops. Or not stops, but it becomes irregular. So if you wanted to just relax, like so for example, supposing you have to give a big speech and your body is somewhat tense. So just relax and take some deep breaths. So the pranayama is a very important element in improving your mental capacity. So this is what Krishna is saying, that this is another yajna that you can employ along with all the other ones, indisciplined thinking to disciplined thinking, undisciplined eating to disciplined eating, etc., etc. And being aware of what sounds you're hearing, who are you talking to, all of that. All of these are really yajnas for praptasya prapti. Praptasya prapti. That you are already there, but you don't feel the effects of it. And how you do that? Through the various yajnas. So this is another one in the list. So one interesting thing, if you look at the English translation of this by Swami Paramarthananda, he says on page number 33, committed to pranayama, others offer exhalation into the fire of inhalation and inhalation into the fire of exhalation, restraining the movements of both inhalation and exhalation. Some others offer them into the fire of retention. This is an important attitude to have when you're doing pranayama. For example, supposing you want to, you focus in on exhalation. There, you are offering inhalation to exhalation, just like in a yajna, you offer some dravya into the fire. So what you offer it to is important, and what you are offering is also important. So this improves your awareness. Really, that's what it does. Your mind is not monkeying around, jumping from place to place. It is under your control, and you are aware of what you're thinking. You are now ready to do some real study. This is the meaning of this pranayama as a yajna. Then let's go to the next one, and I think we're pretty much done with that. Number 30. Apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati. Okay, let's just do the first part first. So this is the last one, which is the 12th one. Aharaha niyamaha yajna. This is called aharaha niyama yajna. So Krishna will discuss this much more detail on the 6th chapter, but just an introduction of that is given. Here, both the quantity and quality of your food intake, this is called aharaha, is the discipline. And so here, and we will discuss that in the 6th chapter in more detail. What you eat and when you eat are both important. What you eat is the quality, and when you eat is the discipline. So that's what he says, apare niyata ahara. He says some others utilize their disciplined eating as a way of doing yajnas. So here, again, I think more discussion will come later on, but just very fully, what you eat should be recognized to be a sattvic food rather than tamasic or rajasic food. So tamasic food And also the quantity of food. So both the quality and quantity of here, and the when will come later on in a minute, but just the quality and quantity. Quality means it should be sattvic food. And again, we will discuss it some other, which is sattvic, which is not. But very, very briefly, non-vegetarian food is tamasic food. And then in drinking also, for example, really anything other than water is the best drink to have, sattvic drink, is water. And if you take, for example, Coca-Cola or coffee or tea, then that is rajasic food, because it and then it is not as though you shouldn't have it. That's a separate thing altogether. Caffeine. So caffeine makes your system become more active. And then the drinks that are tamasic are alcohol or other kinds of drugs and so on, that really put you to a sense of not knowing who you are, what's happening, and so on and so forth. Similarly with the food, non-vegetarian food is tamasic food. Whereas vegetarian food, eaten in the right quantity, is ahara niyamaha, niyata ahara. Also, there also vegetarian food, supposing here this is all vegetarian, but I can overeat. No. No. This is why food, when it is overeaten, means that you are not able to think properly. You're just sleepy, and also the body also becomes a problem. You have more fat in the body. It doesn't. All kinds of problems. We know all of that. I won't go into this. So niyata ahara means both the quality and quantity of food is important. Then the when part means, and Krishna also discusses it later, that have intervals between food. And in fact, probably the most important one is eat when your body is telling you, I am hungry, please feed me. And don't eat if you don't feel hungry. Anyway, so without going into all of that, so here another last yajnas is, and by the way, a lot of the problems in prana also comes from food. From food. So for example, even in the case of asthma, in my case, and so on, it is all the offshoot of either wrong eating in this life or in the previous life. So it's just a result of not doing the right kind of, and you have to suffer through it. And so the body is also affected, your mind is also affected, all of that, all from the intake of food. So this is what is called apare niyata haraha pranan praneshu jihvati. So means that the prana, and here the prana, by the way, here the mention of prana in number 30 as opposed to number 29 has to do with the physiological functions of your body. So for instance, if you overeat sugar, then the diabetes is a physiological function which is part of prana. See the connection here? Apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati. So your physiological functions of the body are also affected by the food. To be aware of that. That's what. Anyway, so we're done with all the all the yajnas. The second line is sarve api ete yajna vidaha yajna kshapita kalmashaha. So this is a summary of all the yajnas. So he says that those who perform one or more of any of the yajnas, your choice, any of these yajnas, become free of the ill effects of leading a life without yajna. Means yajna kshapita kalmashaha, they become purified. And the purification leads to absolute purification, not relative purification. Relative purification is also there, but ultimately because it is praptasya praptihi, results in absolute freedom in the end. Now in number 31, so this is the carrot and stick. So far the 12 yajnas talked about was the carrot. Here Krishna says, if you don't do this, here is the problem that you will face. There's a critical use, it's a stick aspect. So he says, yajna shishta amrita bhujaha yanti brahma sanatanam na ayam lokaha asti ayagyasya kuto anya kuru sattama. So let's look at the word meanings first. He says, those who partake of this yajna prasadaha yanti sanatanam brahman. Hey Arjuna, Kuru Sattama. Hey Arjuna, those who partake praptasya prapti. Praptasya prapti means a sense of complete freedom in life. Not relative freedom, but absolute freedom. And if you don't do this, ayam lokaha nasti agyas ayayagyasya kutaha anya. He says, so let's look at the English translation. Those who partake of this ambrosial yajna prasada go to the eternal Brahma, O Arjuna. Even this world is not attainable for the non-performer of yajnas. How can he attain the other world? So he says that this is being given to you as an advice for your sake. I don't gain anything from it, Krishna says. Kind of like a doctor, who says, I think you've got a problem, and here's how you solve the problem, and here's what you need to do. And unlike some of these unnecessary, this happens all the time in India more, and even in here, where there's some unnecessary surgeries are done for the sake of the income of the doctor. They're done all the time. Unlike that, if there is a good, sincere doctor which says, forget about surgery or anything, here's what you need to do. Here's you need to diet, you need to take some following medicines, you do this. It's for your sake. So similarly here, the Shastra is saying, hey, I'm just telling you for your benefit, yajnas should be done. A sense of yajna, which means bring Ishvara into your life. Very important. Without that, nothing is relevant. Bring Ishvara into your life, and then take control of your life, and achieve freedom while you are in this, while you're living here. So this is the advice being given. If you don't do that, then forget about your next life. You will not even be successful in this life. That's what he means. Na ayam lokaha astya yajnasya kuto anyaha kuru sattama. You just forget about other lives. Even in this life, you will not be a happy person, because you're leading an undisciplined life. Things are not going well with you, etc. So this is a kind of like a critical look at what if you don't do that. So now he's summarizing all of that in number 32. Evam bahuvidha yajnaha vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan viddhi tan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase. So he says there are, just like I was saying earlier, there are lots of different yajnas. This is not the only one. One, for example, one of them is going on pilgrimages. Very, very important, very nice. Another one is japa yajna. All of them. Now he says, please know that all these are called karmajan yajna. They are not jnana yajna. So let's just look at it. Evam, in this manner, bahuvidha yajnaha vitataha means they are elaborated in the mukhe brahmanaha. So here the word brahmanaha refers to the Vedas, not to Brahman. So sometimes the same word is used for different things. Here the pages of Vedas. So all these are meant for your becoming vimoksha, to complete freedom from it. It's all meant for you. But they are, one interesting thing that he's talked about is, this is called karma yajna. So karma yajna means this is not a jnana yajna. So please see this. We're running out of time today, but we'll discuss this next time. So jnana yajna is where they all culminate in. This is kind of, Swami Paramarthananda had given a very beautiful example of this. He said, supposing you are cooking. Now, there is some recipe that you have to take a cup of dal and heat it separately. You do a lot of things, this, that, or the other. This is what is called karma yajna. But really the jnana yajna is where all the karma yajna culminate in, which is the dish is ready to be eaten. Eat it. So the interesting thing is, you cannot do jnana yajna without karma. And karma yajna without culminating in jnanam also doesn't make any sense. Like, for example, supposing you want to have an Indian meal, if you don't cut vegetables and boil them and put spices on them and so on and so forth, you cannot have it. You cannot just thin air. You have to do some karma. On the other hand, supposing you put all this together, you're cooking all of this, but you don't put it together in a form that you can eat, also is not useful. So therefore, Krishna will point out that all these are karma yajnas. that by themselves won't give you freedom, but they would allow you to think about freedom. And you cannot have a sense of freedom without having gone through a disciplined life. So this is what is called Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga by itself is not the final goal. Jnana Yoga, Jnana Yajna is the final goal. So this will be discussed in 33 onwards, but he's summarizing, having described all of the Karma Yajnas on that please do them. Please adopt one or a combination of disciplined life. Why? Because of the praptasya prapti. So this we will continue on next time. Om asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnam eva vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, still a few times for questions, yeah?
Yeah, what's the meaning of ambrosia?
So Amritam here means, ambrosia here means not total ambrosia, not complete freedom, but apekshika freedom means relative freedom. So here, for example, conquering the very changingness of life. So you can take it either as a relative freedom or an absolute freedom. Relative freedom means that you may have to take another life. You're not completely free of death. You may have to take another life, but your progression towards understanding is ascertained, and there's someone in charge. So the next life you will take will be at a spot where this knowledge will be easily available, your own mind will be better. So this is called ambrosia in the sense of you are well protected. But if you are able to parlay this into an understanding in this life itself, then it is total freedom. Then you don't need to. Then it's complete amritam. Yeah. Yeah.
Regarding that Anna Yajna.
Yeah.
So
Aharaha. Niyata aharaha. Yeah.
I read somewhere that once India was raided by the Britishers, they introduced their system of when to eat. So we had breakfast, dinner, and lunch. So, but it didn't have information on how it was earlier for Indian system of eating. So, was there a system earlier, or was it the same as 3 meals a day?
I'm not so sure that I can tell you that, but the only one thing that our teachers recommend is that the first thing one should do in the morning is to do puja before eating. And puja needs to be done after taking a bath or shower. Okay, so that should be, we may not be able to do it, but this is the ideal situation where you get up in the morning and before you eat anything, you take a shower, purify yourself, brush your teeth, etc., and then do a prayer to Ishvara. And then when you do eat the first meal, then offer it as, so this is what will come in verse number 33, Yajna Shishtaha, exactly the same point. Yajna Shishtaha means that you offer it to the Lord, and then this becomes a prasada from the Lord. And in India, for example, if our traditional families, I remember when I was growing up in Amritsar, my grandmother would give the food to the birds first, not eat it yourself. Or if there is a sadhu close by, then you have to feed it some. So which is a form of Ishvara, not your own self. And so I'm not sure about the 3 meals per se. That I'm not certain about that at all. But what is certain is that the first meal, really all meals for that matter, this is why we chant either the 15th chapter of nothing but Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi, just that one verse, which you offer it to the Lord. And so by doing that symbolically, what you eat becomes what's left over after offering it to you. You know, coming back, is why somebody was saying, I think Swami Chinmanan said that. He said, Swamiji, he says, no, someone was saying to Swami Chinmanan that instead of giving coins to a puja sthanam, what I do is I throw it up to the Lord and I say, whatever you want, keep it. The rest of it, give it back to me. So he throws it, and it all comes back to him. He says, now I can eat. I can use it. So it's something like that, where you symbolically offer it to the Lord, and then whatever you eat becomes a prasadam from him. That's the only thing I can offer. But in terms of the 3 different meals, I don't know. We have to Google it. Hi, Shilpa.
Just a small question. So when you say discipline, does it mean like a regimen, like in the morning you do this, like some kind of rigid procedure, or it's just the way you feel or how your body?
Yeah, I think I would, you can do either one of them, but the more important one is how you feel, so it's a life of awareness and disciplined awareness for everything in your behavior, in your thinking, and so on is very useful. Very useful. So Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, here we are talking about acquiring total freedom through a knowledge of Brahman and so on and so forth. But if one does not even, have some mastery over your own life, then it's difficult to take that step because you don't trust yourself. So you have multiple personalities. He says you have to bring everything into he used to use the word together. You have to be a together person. So an example of that is where you say, this is what happens on the 1st of January, you say, from tomorrow morning, for this year, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start running in the morning. And then, so you put your alarm on instead of 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, you do it at 5:30 because you want to run. And then the alarm rings and he says, what the heck is this? Why is he waking? He says, you did this. So he says, don't do that. Just do things that you're capable of doing and slowly improve. So a sort of a sense of discipline about your life and having control over it to the best possible extent is the best way to do that. If you cannot do it, if you want to do completely rigidity, then that's up to you. But that's not what's really meant for. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but one also has to see the human body structured in such a way that after 6-7 hours sleep from say 10 p.m. to about 5, 6, 4 a.m., body is in the restful mode, in the process of preparing bad stuff to throw. By the time you get up in the morning, you're ready to go, ready to throw. And you get up in the morning, 4, 5 a.m. to about 10, 9, 10 a.m., the whole body is in the excretion mode. Excretion mode means you've got to clean up your system inside. And then give it a rest. That's why thing came called breakfast. You break the fast, you don't fill up the body there. You take light stuff, you don't overload the liver, but still you need to give some energy to the system there. And while choosing your breakfast, then lunch 12 to 2 or dinner 6 to 8 p.m., pick up this stuff which is compatible with your system, like Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Some have Vata, Vaju is formed, some are Pitta, like that. But pick up that food which do not create for Vaju. People don't take food which cause gaseousness and all that.
Yes, all of that is part of the
Things are
discipline. Yes,
Going
yes,
into discipline.
absolutely.
Your life will become so nice. You will able to come to class very fresh if your body is clean in the morning. It's very, very important. Don't come out to still bother. You have a safety. The SOPI system is
Yeah, all that is part of the discipline of, no doubt about it. Absolutely, agreed.